It's time for Recipe of the Day. Happy Valentine's weekend. It continues. And if you are looking for a special dinner for tonight, I have got one for you. We are doing butter-poached lobster tails. Now, I'm going to start by saying that you need to get your lobster tails frozen. You don't want to buy them fresh from the fish counter because you don't know how long ago they thawed them. That's right. When you're getting lobster, you either want to buy it still alive, like the whole lobster, and then you know exactly how fresh it is. Or if you're getting the tails, then you want to get them frozen. That's going to be best. Now, I've done the testing to find the best way to thaw the lobster tails, and it is in the fridge. It takes a few hours. I put them on like a sheet pan, put them on the sheet pan, a few hours in the fridge, or they can be overnight. That's going to be best. I have tried doing them in like running cold water in the sink, and they just aren't as good. They kind of get some water trapped inside the shell, and that gets in the way when you're doing the cooking later. So it is just best to do them in the fridge overnight or for a few hours. The next thing you're going to do is trim off the soft shell, kind of like the underbelly of that lobster tail. You're going to use some clean kitchen scissors and you just snip all the way along where that soft shell meets the hard shell and to the tail and all the way around. Now, I have a video on Cook the Story that shows you how to do that. You can get that in the show notes for this episode or head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and you will see the link to the frozen lobster tails there, and the video is found there as well. Okay. Once you've got those lobster tails thawed and trimmed, the best thing you can do is to use a skewer inserted all the way through the meat of the lobster tail. And that is actually going to stop it from curling while it's cooking and help it cook more evenly. And then you can trim the skewer. If it's like a wooden skewer, trim it to be about the length of the lobster so that everything's going to fit in your pan later. That's going to be really important because we're actually going to be poaching the lobster in butter. And so you're going to want kind of a narrow pan so that your butter can rise up. And if you're using like a big wide skillet, you're going to need way more butter for it to coat right around the whole lobster. Do you see what I mean? Once your lobsters are skewered, you can set those aside and you're going to get your poaching butter ready. So what you want is a saucepan that's just big enough to fit your lobster tails, all 4 of them in there in a single layer. And then you're going to add 3 pounds of butter to that. That's 12 sticks. I know it's a lot, but you're not going to use it all in this meal, of course. And you can actually save it in the fridge later to drizzle on all kinds of things. It's going to be essentially like lobster flavored butter. So you're getting your lobster tails plus bonus delicious butter for all through the weekend and next week. It is going to be so good. Okay, so you're going to put that butter into that saucepan and you're going to heat it over low heat, letting it melt. In there is also going 6 garlic cloves, peeled and smashed. You don't have to chop them up, just get them in there. Some fresh thyme leaves if you have them. If not, you can skip that or just use a little sprinkling of dried thyme, some salt, 1 teaspoon, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Now swirl that pan around every now and then. You're just melting that butter in there. And then once it's melted, we're going to add in those lobster tails. So you're going to put those lobster tails in there, cut side up. So where we trimmed off all that soft shell, that is going to be facing up. And then you're going to spoon some of that melted butter all over there and then cover it. And you're cooking it for about 10 minutes until the internal temperature of the lobsters is 135 or 140 if you like a firmer texture, Fahrenheit. You can use an instant read thermometer to make sure that that temperature is good. Or you could have used a probe thermometer that whole time, you know, the kind where you put the probe into the lobster tail that has like a wire that comes out, and mine has a magnet on the other side. So I have the little reader with the temperature sticking on my microwave right over the stove, and then I can just monitor the temperature there. So either the instant read when you think they're done, or you could be monitoring it the whole time with a probe thermometer like that. And so when they are at that 135 degrees Fahrenheit, 140 again, if you want a little firmer, then you transfer those lobster tails to a serving platter, drizzle them with that butter, put more on the side for dipping, and it's going to be an amazing Sunday night. I am so excited for you to try this. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for the podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is February 15th of 2025. And if you try this recipe and love it, or if you've tried any of the recipes from either of my websites, cookthestory.com or thecookful.com, I would appreciate it if you would go back to the recipe and leave a comment and a 5-star rating. The comments really help me see feedback, see what you're making and enjoying, and show other people what you've done and tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked. It's really helpful to everybody in our community. And then also the 5-star rating, that really helps me. That helps bring more people to my business because they see those 5 stars when they're searching for recipes on Google. And when they jump down to the recipe at the bottom, they see them. They're more likely to come. They're more likely to try. They're more likely to listen to this podcast, all of that. So it's very helpful to me and I really appreciate it if you go and do it now or if you have been doing it, because I know a lot of you have been doing it. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.